Guess we'll have the coffee. My sister just reminded me about this story. It takes place in 2017. I'm on mobile, forgive any formatting errors, but definitely come at me for spelling mistakes. She and I were out for brunch and had a lovely time at an upscale rooftop restaurant in the heart of 04 city. You know, the kind with a full setting, cloth napkins, and white tablecloth. A pancake entree has the word melange, and mimosas are $16. We had a great time even though the service was a little rushed. We get it. Saturday brunch means a lot of tables with a speedy turnover. My sister had been a waitress all through college. We even joked about her applying for the weekend shifts since she'd make great tips. When it came time to settle the check, we noticed Faye had been charged for 2 coffees, which we didn't order nor receive. While handing the bill back, I asked that they be taken off. Waiter, well, you got coffee. Me, I'm sorry, we actually didn't. See? Shows him pristine empty coffee cups. Waiter, no, there's 2 coffee cups on the table. Me, there are coffee cups on every table. At this point he kind of huffs and rolls his eyes, and says he doesn't have the authority to remove anything from the bill. Before I can ask for someone who can, he smirks and says the manager on duty just went on break and we'd have to wait 30 minutes for her, but he'd be asking us to wait at the host stand since they need the table. My sister and I look at each other and we both get the same idea. Sister, well, okay. Guess if we're being charged for coffee, I'd like a refill. Me, oh, for me too. And can you bring cream and sugar? It was at this moment he knew he upped up. Wes spent another 20 minutes sipping coffee and him from turning the table. We asked for refills once, and I asked if they had any raw sugar packets. By the end of it he was pointedly ignoring us. We kinda giggled about it, and I made a very dramatic show of flourishing my card, putting it in the booklet, and setting it upright. My sister even tried to flag him down but he refused to look in our direction. We finished and hung around until he came back with his manager. He was smirking again. Big lips, that guy. I have to say that facial expression stayed with me. Waiter, sickly sweet. Okay, you too, we have a seating time limit to allow our other guests the opportunity to eat with us. Will that be me? Well, we've been waiting for you to take our check. I was trying to get your attention earlier, but you must have been busy. I offer him my card and the booklet, and I've never seen a human turn red so quickly. He mutters that'll be right back and marches off to run it. While we were waiting, the manager asked us about our experience. We said we both had a great and we'd be back, and relayed what happened. At least, we ended up enjoying the coffee. We paid, left a decent tip, and skedaddled. But it felt good knowing he probably cost himself a ticket's worth of tips over $9 in coffee. Want me to punch in on the work clock? Fine, now deal with overtime pay. First, I'd like to apologize for any grammar mistake as I'm not a native English speaker. Also, as there is a lot of things I need to mention to put into context, this might be a little longer than usual, so bear with me for a while, if not TL. Doctor at the bottom I, 31M. Started working for my uncle 2 years ago. He has a company with some business partners of his. My work is now being directly under him, learning every perk of running the business and also being a personal assistant to him. We settled on a contract in which I'd receive a fixed monthly amount with a bonus of an additional salary by the end of every year, and while I had no overtime pay, I had total control of my work schedule, and by total I meant total, where I could come to the job just 3 days a week as long as I delivered results. My uncle knew my work ethic, so it's kinda of a win for him since when needed I'd work 60 to 65 hours a week, if needed to. Also I could work during a holiday. We have around 10 to 12 festivities days that are non-working days. If I were to put into an American perspective, is just as if we had over 10 July 4th holidays during the year. Also I was available on call nearly 24/7 if anyone needed anything from me related to work. Work was running great until September last year when my uncle took a couple days to travel to another state to meet new clients and one of his associates, let's call him Gordon, took his role in the company for those days to support some of his roles. Due to having worked a 14-hour shift the day before the travel, and also having 2 12-hour shifts the week before I was dead tired, and since we had little to no work piled up I took an early leave the first day he was there and arrived way after lunch the day after, then started working normally from the 3rd day until he came back a week later. He was furious at my attitude, berating my uncle for even contracting me in the first place, since I don't even work full regular hours and demand among the other business partners. The company has in total 6 owners including my uncle, that I at least punch in my working hours, and if I don't meet the quota, those would be deducted from my monthly payment. There's a ton of labor laws where I live. Employees shave a certain amount of hours required to work each month. Every hour short of that is deducted from the monthly payment, and every hour beyond is paid as overtime. Other partners backed up Gordon's claim stating that I needed more supervision on what I was doing, which my uncle was forced to comply. His only remark was, since we're doing by law, it means that way also we'll pay him overtime according to the law, right? They all agreed, and from October forward I would start punching my hours on the job every day. Cue the malicious compliance. That was exactly what I did. Gordon was expecting a decrease on my pay due to being in the company at my least busy week since I arrived, when in fact I usually pull a crapload of overtime. Also, if they need to call me after I left, they have to punch in the hours from the moment I left until I finish the call, resulting in free overtime pay. One more thing, by the law the rate of overtime pay increases the more overtime is done in a month. It's a really weird formula. But to simplify, my average overtime hours pays 1/3 higher than the average overtime hours of other employees that have the same monthly salary as me. My monthly income is now 30% higher due to the overtime I started receiving, and in a busy month that could get even close to 50% higher, even though I'm actually working a little less than before, and Gordon can't go back in the same situation as before, since my uncle made sure that once I started punching my hours there was no going back, and all partners approved TL. Dr. Boss made me punch in my work hours trying to reduce my salary when in fact I do a lot of overtime. Now my salary got a 30% raise due to the overtime pay. Who told you to do it this way? Being a travel nurse in the operating room has its benefits. The pay, the ability to take time off between assignments, and the bits of malicious compliance that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. Been at this hospital for 2 months. I've worked with this particular surgeon a handful of times, but it's always been the same procedure, so I know what he wants for every step of the case. I'm about to start applying skin prep, another layer oftentimes microbial security to prevent post-op infection, to where the surgeon is going to operate. He always wants the armpit, front shoulder, and breast, chest of the specific side prepped. We're operating on the patient's right side. They're already asleep, and their right arm is padded and secured on an arm board. Before I start prepping, the scrub tech immediately says, you need to undo their arm from the board so that you can prep the whole arm. I tell them no, the surgeon wants it prepped this way, the arm stays on the board. This scrub tech hadn't done this case with this doctor in quite some time either, but they still decided to explain how the whole arm should be prepped for this procedure. I ignored them. I begin my prep. Less than a minute later, the charge nurse comes in to log into a portable X-ray device. Us travelers don't often get credentials for those, and the scrub tech decides to ask the charge nurse how the surgical site should be prepped for this case, right in front of me. The charge nurse backs up the scrub tech and tells me should be prepping the whole arm in addition to the sites that I mentioned earlier. I protested, but Drive X doesn't want that. He always wants the same areas prepped and draped accordingly. The charge nurse wasn't budging, and they demand I unfasten the arm and do it their way instead. I sigh, and say okay. QMC. I prep the whole arm and I'm holding it in my sterile glove while waiting for the drapes and stockinette to be applied. All of a sudden, the most glorious thing happens. The surgeon arrives with the charge nurse still in the room. Did you prep the whole arm? He asked me. Yep. Why did you do that? You've been here 2 months. How do you not remember the prep by now? I was told to prep it this way. By who? Who told you to do it this way? The surgeon was due to this delay. As a traveler, I've learned to take the heat for making small mistakes, and I was contemplating taking the fall for this so that we could just move on with the rest of the day. But before I could speak, my charge nurse was actually humble and admitted that they told me to prep the whole arm. The doc looked at me. Did you tell them how I prefer it to be done? I did. The doc turned back to the charge nurse and proceeded to lambaste her for delaying the case. The scrub tech just stared blankly at the wall. But I didn't look or listen, I just stood there in the moment with the biggest hit-eating grin under my mask. It's a nice day when someone else proves you were right. Needless to say, I didn't renew my contract at that hospital. My boss said headsets are not allowed in the office. This happened in 2015, so a long time ago. Aside from my actual job, I was assigned as the document custodian and the secretariat for our office's ISO certification. My boss was the office's quality manager, so she leads the internal audits. Whenever we have an audit, we usually take an entire day of meeting to discuss the results the next day. My boss has assigned me the drafting of the minute, this whole day discussion. And mind you, she wants detailed minutes. We don't just write what was agreed upon. She wanted me to capture the debate and rejected suggestions before that. Suffice to say, I need to listen to a recording to draft the 10 to 15 page long document. One day, while I was drafting this minutes, I did not realize that she was calling me. Engrossed in the headset and was intently listening to the recording that I did not hear her until she has risen up and walked to my desk. This annoyed her. She did not realize I was listening to the recording. She thought I was merely listening to music. She nagged at me in front of the whole office for needing to be called 5 times and being so unresponsive. There and then she angrily announced to everyone that nobody is allowed to use their headset anymore. She even strutted to the IT room to tell the IT guys to quit using their headsets as well. Being the obedient assistant that I am, I took off my headset then connected my computer to the speaker. Then listened to recording at full volume of voices of everyone in the office debating and talking about the audit. The worse, I was not just listening to the conversations in the meeting. Sometimes I would stop then replay certain parts of the recording at least 5 times to capture what was being said. Everyone in my immediate vicinity just could not stop snickering. Some of the teams across the office who had no idea what happened had asked what was going on, annoyed that they can't focus at work. Some people are cringed BYB their voices. I just told them it is a new policy and they just have to live with it. My boss, on the other hand, pretended she wasn't hearing anything. I did this for a few days, until it got old and I finally returned to using my headset. Edit for clarity, my boss and our team have a different job. ISO certification was just our responsibilities. Government offices in the Philippines are required to have ISO certifications. Oh, we were bound to get one as we are a national agency. The IT team and our team are sort of connected, so my boss do talk to them a lot. The thing is, our IT team is closer to my boss and they actually gift her with stuff during Christmas. She was annoying most of the times, but she connect with them, I don't know why. The IT team also would not sabotage her, as doing so would mean sabotaging their work as well, since our real jobs are connected.